Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin Oles. This is my Module 1 for Special Education for Emerging Leaders. A little about me. I'm currently a special education teacher. I teach in CPS. This is my first year in CPS. I've taught at a contract charter school here in the city in Chicago for 4 years, 5 years. This is I'm starting a new school this year in a little bit different role. I taught history for 4 years. I got special ed certified, and then I made the role, and I filled the role of special education case manager last year. And then I made the transition. I'm just a regular old, boring special education teacher this year. I co-teach science, and I also have a separate instruction room where I teach English to 10th graders. Critical reflection here in CPS and at our school, we have an inclusion model. So I'm a co-teacher in 2 biology courses and physics as well. And I also do teach separate instruction. I know people call it different things. At a different school, we called it self-contained, but it's a small classroom. There's no more than 10 students in either of my sections of English that I teach. Also at our school, I think what we do really well, we have a cluster program that started this year, and the cluster teachers are really knocking it out of the park. They're doing great stuff with some of the more severe and profound students. It is right across the hallway from where my office is, so I get to peek in on them all the time, and they're doing a great job. And so I think our school does a really good job with that. District-wide, we use an MTSS program. Also, making sure that our principal looks in on us and make sure that we're doing a good job of our assessments. We have to turn in 5-week assessments into the principals, and they look and they check to make sure it's scaled correctly and give us some feedback on that. We also do report cards in the special education department. When kids on our caseload, we track their goals. After we write the goals, we track them. We check to see how the kids are doing for those goals that we created, and we send reports back home for the students and for their parents. So I think we do a great job of making sure that diverse learners are where we need them to be. As far as a critique goes, what I do for my separate instruction English 2 classes, I meet with the other the Gen Ed English teachers, and we design a curriculum for English based on what we all come up with. And then what I do is I scale back the instruction for separate instruction. So the kids are always working on the same unit. It looks similar, but of course it's a lot different due to the restricted environment. In terms of improvement plan, what I think that we could do better at our school is improving communication between SPED teachers and Gen Ed teachers. What we see a lot of from a special education standpoint is we see a lot of general education teachers who kind of aren't following what the IEP says. They aren't giving extended time to kids. They're not giving modifications, and I think a lot of that has to do with, it's a lot of work to keep up with an IEP and read them and make sure that you're delivering everything. So I think better communication between special education teachers and Gen Ed teachers would be mutually beneficial between the students and the teachers as well. And I think there should be improved special education training for the general education teachers. I would really like to see a model where those teachers are trained, maybe a minimum of once a year on what to look for and how to properly differentiate instruction in the classroom and how to follow an IEP that a kid might have. I think that would go a long way for servicing our kids. In terms of funding, I think it would be a little bit tricky. We have a pretty large district, and finding time for communication between gen ed teachers and special education teachers would be tricky, especially working with the union. I think you'd have to look at something where you'd have to, pay teachers to stay after school, to meet with other teachers and make sure that line of communication is really strong. And pay for training would be really tricky too, in terms of training gen ed teachers on special education stuff. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to communicating with you all in the class. Thanks.